Welcome in to the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, segment number 3, week number 5 with our closer, Robbie Vino at Rob Vino Sports on Twitter. Robbie, welcome on in, bud. How you feeling?
I am good today, Drew. Another Thursday with the Every Game on the Board segment. College football flying past us right before our eyes into week 5. Now we do this every week at the beginning of the show, just peel off the weeks. We have a lot of data points now, Drew, as we get into conference play, heavy conference action. But even though the weeks are flying by, I have to tell you, as you learn over the years, there is a ton of college football left. So all the overreaction stuff, I think Aaron Rodgers once said, relax, right? You got to relax a little bit because there's a lot of football ahead starting this Saturday. Actually, Friday.
Yeah, Friday night, there's 3 games. We got one on Thursday night going here in a couple hours. And guys, we're going to hit a bunch of games here. 12, 14 games at the end of the Saturday card. We're starting 173, 174, the rotation number going down in numerical order. So that's UCF versus Kansas State all the way to the end. Last game on the card, BYU and Colorado. This is part 3 of a 3-segment weekly series hitting every single game on the board. So first game up here, Robbie, for the section, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. It is the Big 12 conference battle between UCF and Kansas State. We are seeing Kansas State here off to a rough start of the season, but they're laying points to UCF. That's what undefeated on the year. So kind of bringing that into a -5, -6. Kansas State as the home favorite, 49 and a hook being the total. UCF, a little bit of a tough trip here, Orlando to the Little Apple. But, hey, catching under a touchdown. What are you thinking here, UCF and Kansas State?
Well, this one caught my eye early in the week, Drew, and I played it over the 49.5. And the reason why it caught my eye was, I think back on Monday, Chris Kleiman, the head coach of K-State, had come out and said that he expected Dylan Edwards, their lead running back, to be full speed for this game. They have not had Dylan Edwards for a bulk of the season so far. He might be their number one weapon on offense, and especially as a running back. Joe Jackson's a great complementary running back. So it gives them all their pieces back with Jace Brown at wide receiver. He's been carrying a heavy load. And with K-State coming off a bye week after the Arizona game, I felt like their offense is going to be in pretty good shape here against this Central Florida defense. And the Central Florida offense has been impressive. Taven Jackson, 71% completions right now. And to go along with that, of course, you have to have these hand-in-glove fits. Central Florida's offense might be impressive under Scott Frost so far, but the K-State defense is less than impressive. That's the one side that I don't think one bye week can correct. To tell you the truth, K-State's got real issues, whether it be tackling, whether it be covering, whether it be stopping the run. There's so many things. I don't know that one bye week can correct that, but I do think the return of Dylan Edwards can correct a lot of problems on the offensive side of the football here. You need Avery Johnson. You know, I mean, the kid was put on a pedestal way too fast, but you need him to hit some of the layups that he's missed so far this season. I think he will against this defense. Again, you're betting against numbers here, but I just thought this number was way too low. I think this game finds its way into the mid-50s. And very quickly, where Kansas State is concerned, Drew, it's kind of I think you would probably call it a profile. I know you like to define profiles. Kansas State's had this profile over the last 2-3 years of being a team that's very methodical, stout defensively, run-oriented, clock grinding, and their totals get placed accordingly. I've made a lot of money the last couple of years playing Kansas State totals over simply because of where they place. 50.5, game lands 52, you get paid. I just think they're undervalued where their offense is concerned, and I don't know that their defense is as good as it used to be. Kind of the same summary as I have for this play. So I like over 49.5 in that game.
Yeah, 49.5. UCF and Kansas State to start us off here, Robbie. So, yeah, man, great analysis. And we got a big matchup up next here. SEC, LSU, and Ole Miss, 3:30 Eastern time. We are seeing Hotty Toddy, gosh almighty, -1 and a hook, and Lane Kiffin as the home favorite, 56.5 being the total. So we get Go Tigers and Ole Miss in a tight point spread here, Robbie. These two teams don't like each other much. What are we thinking in Oxford, Mississippi?
I'm pretty sure the head coaches don't like each other much either. Because first of all, Lane Kiffin doesn't have a bunch of coaching friends, I would think, and
Yeah.
Brian Kelly probably doesn't have a lot of coaching friends either.
He doesn't seem like he would.
No.
Yeah.
It's a good game, though. It's a good matchup. I tend to lean to the Ole Miss side here, Drew, simply because I know, and it's true that LSU's defense, I mean, if we just compare this defense to what they put on the field the last 2 years, obviously there's significant improvement on the defensive side, led by Harold Perkins, who's a future NFL linebacker. But I don't know that they have faced any offense whatsoever. I mean, if we just go back, and as I mentioned early in the show, we now have data points, reference points, so to speak. We take a look at the LSU game log, and we got to say to ourselves, we thought Clemson was going to be better. Is it really that impressive that you held Clemson down? Is it really that impressive that you held Billy Napier's Florida squad down? Nothing that they faced even resembles Ole Miss's offense, even with Trinidad Chambliss, the backup quarterback, who maybe should be the starting quarterback. They are just on fire as far as moving the ball up and down the field is concerned. Granted, they haven't played an LSU-style defense here, and that's where you get into the handicapping conflict. Which rules, which wins the day? For me, I think that Ole Miss's defense is good enough. Garrett Nussmeier and company have proven nothing to us offensively so far this season. And perhaps the defense is a little bit overrated because of the weak strength of schedule as far as offenses are concerned. I think Mississippi has all the pieces here, Drew, at home to be able to win this game. The price is under a field goal. What makes you a little bit nervous with Lane Kiffin is his sometimes inexplicable decision-making to go for fourth downs, to go for two, et cetera, kind of puts you on weird numbers sometimes. But here it's only 1.5. If you want to bet money line, you think he's going to win by 1, you can play money line. But for me, I think Ole Miss at this point in time is 3 points better than LSU.
And Rob, that's a great point. Some coaches are like that, going for 2, going for it on fourth down. And it does put the numbers, in a final score at a strange. It can be just unique endings. It's almost one of those with it. It's at 1.5 across the board. I would almost wait for a 1 because if they win by 1, then you would just push instead of lose. And the risk in doing that is it goes to 2. But at that point, I would say bet it money line anyway. Like you're saying. Would you agree with that kind of attacking this that way if you like Ole Miss?
Yeah, at 1.5, you could probably save a little bit rather than going money line by going alternate line -1, and maybe you land on a push rather than a loss at 1.5 if you think it's going to be that razor thin. But again, to the point of Lane Kiffin and his unique ways and never knowing when he's going to do something. And it's not that Brian Kelly's adverse to going for things on fourth down either, Drew. It could work both ways here, but I think Lane is just extraordinary in that particular sense where sometimes I'll sit there. Why is he going for 2? Why is he going for it on fourth? Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? He's always got a master plan. It doesn't always work, but I think he's got the better team here, and he's got the home field to boot.
All right, we got 4:00 Eastern up next. Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's Tulane at Tulsa. We are seeing the Green Wave -15-point road favorites, 52 being the total here, Robbie.
It took me a little while this week, Drew. I mean, my first inclination was I'm going to play Tulane. They're probably 3 touchdowns better than Tulsa, despite the fact that Tulsa got Mike Gundy fired by beating them last week, Oklahoma State. And you have to you watch that game, and I don't know how you can't come to the conclusion that Oklahoma State is just that terrible right now. I mean, Tulsa did show some signs, but I don't know that what they have right now, 4 games into the season, is good enough to beat Tulane. And Tulane's run into some difficult opposition, right? I mean, let's face it, they pounded Northwestern to start the season. The South Alabama game, I think they let off the gas pedal and allowed South Alabama back in. Almost got themselves beat letting off the gas pedal, which is kind of uncharacteristic for them. Duke, we saw Duke last week beat NC State. They defeated Duke, and then they run into Ole Miss, which is a buzzsaw. I think this is a good spot for them. It's conference opener. You want to assert yourself. Tulane obviously is one of the co-favorites, let's say, to win this particular conference. So you want to assert yourself immediately. It's a road game. I don't know that, Jake Retzlaff, the quarterback for this team, and company are kind of impressed by walking into Tulsa Stadium. I don't think there'll be any shock and awe there. So for me, I think Tulane probably scores into the 40s. And if that's the case, they probably cover 15 points. Their defense has not been rock solid whatsoever. That's the problem you run into when you want to start to lay this type of number. But I would trust that they can force Tulsa into a couple of mistakes here, especially considering the schedule that Tulane has played so far.
We got 8 o'clock Eastern up next in Lafayette, Louisiana. It's Marshall, the Thundering Herd at Louisiana here. And we're seeing a pick'em price tag. I'm seeing -1 at some shops. That's really on both sides here, Robbie. But I guess we could call it a pick'em as the consensus number. 47 and a hook being the total. Marshall going into Lafayette to face the Raging Cajuns.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by the amount of respect for Marshall in this game. When I first saw the opener, I thought, wow, UL Lafayette should be a real good play here. Money's come in on the Marshall side. Again, they beat Middle Tennessee last week, but I think you and I talked about that, right? MTSU was coming off of that win in Nevada, right? And then they had to travel back. It was a kind of a weird travel situation for MTSU, and they get beat by Marshall 42-28. Again, it's a program that's really personnel-wise kind of rebuilt because Charles Huff, we've mentioned multiple times, took a lot of that talent to Southern Miss. But Louisiana, I mean, they basically failed in every big situation last week against Eastern Michigan. I mean, ULL did plenty enough to win that football game last week, but if it was a third down conversion that they needed to get a stop, they couldn't get it, et cetera, et cetera. All the little things that will lead you to a loss, they actually didn't do on the road against the MAC team, which I think they're better than still. And I think that here, coming home to play this game, which is a conference contest, I think that, sometimes for coaches, that's a good thing. You can get into the film room and you can show your team, listen, we got to do this, 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 and this. I think they're capable of cleaning all that up, Drew. So I like the opposite side of the money here. I think ULL at home at this price tag, just win the game for me. I think they're capable of doing that.
We got Champaign, Illinois up next, Robbie. It's the USC Trojans facing Illinois, the Illini. USC laying 6.5 as the road favorite, 60 and a hook being the total. Big Ten conference game. This is kicking us off on Saturday. So 9 a.m. Pacific kick here for USC. And laying a number. What are you thinking, Trojans and Illini?
Well, 5% blue chip winner last week. Now, again, this game started at 11 p.m. Eastern time. And Drew, you're in the time zone. I mean, sometimes we have to go to the early hours of the morning. Luckily for me, USC and Michigan State allowed me to start getting rest late third quarter because they put the game over the total at that point in time. USC's offense is so dynamic. Illinois is going to have their hands full. Remember, Illinois comes off of a thorough beating. Indiana, up and down the field. 63 points, I think they scored. Offense was unstoppable. Now you have to face USC. The difficulty for USC is you have a 9 o'clock Pacific Coast a.m. start time here. 12 noon for the Eastern folks, 11 Central in Champaign where the game's going to be played. I don't know. It's really hard to get inside the heads of the Illinois defensive unit right now because they were shellacked. And I don't think anybody, well, I know nobody anticipated that to happen. And certainly they didn't. Can they regroup this quickly against a team that's every bit as dynamic as Indiana? USC has weaponry, and they didn't even have Jacoby Lane, their top wide receiver, last Saturday night. It's kind of questionable whether he'll play here or not. But Jaden Maeva taking over at quarterback here. Remember, he transferred out of UNLV last season. Been terrific. I don't know if they can be stopped. The question to me would still be, USC is a funny team, Drew, because defensively they're either all or nothing. I believe they have 16 quarterback sacks on the season. It's one of the best pass rush units in the nation so far statistically. But they still give up big plays. Aiden Childs and Michigan State got a few last week for sure, en route to their point total. So maybe Illinois can score a little bit at home with Altmaier. I just question whether or not they can stop USC. Maybe, the alarm bell going off real early next week slows USC down for the first half. But if it doesn't, they may make their way into the 40s here. Illinois might have to chase the entire game.
Like it, Robbie. We got next one up, 3:00 Eastern. UL Monroe, the Warhawks, -1 point home favorites, hosting Arkansas State here, 53 being the total. So another competitive point spread here. The Warhawks -1 against hosting Arkansas State, Rob.
Here's what I didn't check. And as I give my analysis, I am checking right now because this one really had me scratch my head, Drew. I really like over in this game, and there has been nothing but under money all week long to this point. So, excuse me for checking it now because I didn't when I first thought of it. The weather in Monroe, Louisiana, for Saturday, which appears to be really good. And so weather is not a reason for this game coming down. A couple of things here. I'll just give you a couple of numbers. These past defenses are brutal. Arkansas State's played a couple of pretty good teams, but still, Monroe gave up 399 last week, total yardage-wise to UTEP. UTEP ran for 250 and threw for 149. I think it was too easy to run, so they didn't pass. The Arkansas State run defense gave up 321 to Arkansas, 187 to Iowa State, 189 to Kennesaw. They can't stop the run. And excuse me real quick because I misquoted. That was the ULM offense that ran for 250. They love to run the football. Arkansas State can't stop the run. Butch Jones's team, they're maddening at some point, Drew, because they can move the ball up and down the field. And they've got weaponry all over the place. And he's not a bad play caller, but they hurt themselves constantly. I think they can limit those here against this quality of opponent. And to me, this game should get into the mid-50s rather easily. So for me, it's going to be an overplay. It'll make my card. Just can't figure out why people want to play under here.
Guys, this is the Every Game on the Board podcast. Apple, Spotify, downloading your podcast at Every Game on the Board. Also going live on YouTube and Twitter at Rob Vino Sports, at Drew Martin Betts. Every Game on the Board. We got next one up here, UMass and Missouri, Robbie. It is 7:30 Eastern in Columbia, Missouri. Big point spread here. It's the Tigers, -44 and a hook as the home favorite, 55 being the total. Not a lot of wiggle room there, total inside, but obviously huge favorites here for Missouri, hosting the Minutemen.
Yeah, here's one where we'll just save ourselves some time, Drew, because unless you have a particular liking in this game, there's no sense. Missouri's got SEC fish to fry on deck. Who knows? This could be a game where head coach Drinkwitz unloads the second, third teams just to give them some game experience as they head into SEC season. If you just took it at face value, it wouldn't be hard to play the Missouri team total over. For sure. But they come off that difficult game with South Carolina last week where they won. Now they have this kind of flat spot. And like I say, who knows how Coach Drinkwitz is going to coach this game. So for me, it's just a simple pass. If you think maybe they don't care much about the game, then you might want to get in and get out, maybe play Missouri first half, build the lead, get all the starters out. But if you think that's the way it's going to go, you might want UMass plus 44.5 full game too. Maybe a backdoor touchdown gets you a cover.
We got a big one in the SEC up next. Auburn and Texas A&M, 3:30 Eastern here in College Station, Texas. It is A&M -6.5 at most shops. There is a 6 out there, 53 being the total. Of course, Auburn, back-to-back tough road trips here, losing to Oklahoma. And I'll tell you, as an Auburn alum, Robbie, that was a frustrating one to watch. You can always kind of complain about the refs, but that was one that really sticks out to me. Can Auburn bounce back here? Another tough place to play, home of the 12th man. What are you thinking, A&M and Auburn?
Well, they did the rest of the league a favor because they hurt John Mateer. So yeah. Now Mateer's got a hand injury, and it's not going to help Auburn any, but it'll help the rest of the league. It's funny, Drew, because I talked earlier about teams that get these public perceptions, and they kind of stick. And I'm looking at these two teams this season, and for me, it seems like Auburn, and it started with the Baylor game, is a very balanced offense that has a lot of dynamic players. Again, Singleton Jr. and Coleman on the outside, you could argue they're one of the top 5 duos in the country, talent-wise. They're both going to be NFL wide receivers, so they had that going for them. And then, like in the Baylor game where Baylor decided you guys aren't going to beat us, they just turned to the offensive line and ran for 300, let Jackson Arnold incorporated him into the running game. They've got all the options offensively. And A&M kind of fits that same bill. Neither team is as good defensively as like their perception would be. You think of them as very tough, stout defenses. I don't know. I'm not so sure about A&M especially. I think Texas San Antonio, when I went back, now I remember watching the game, but I had to double check my work. And UTSA ran for over 200 yards against A&M. So I'm not so sure about their defense. It was brought to my attention on another show. Hosts like the over in this game, and I can't say that I could argue them out of it. It's only 52.5. Both teams have a lot of potential to score here, and I don't know that the defenses are good enough to stop them. So I haven't played the game whatsoever, but it's something I'm going to look at a little further.
All right, we'll go from College Station, Texas to Kennesaw, Georgia for Kennesaw State hosting MTSU. It is 53 and a hook being the total. Kennesaw State here, -7 and a hook as the home favorite. We talked about Middle Tennessee State, kind of head-scratching results there, going on the road, getting a nice win against Nevada, but then coming back and losing. Now, it's a short trip from Murfreesboro, Tennessee to Kennesaw, Georgia, but 7.5 here. That is Kennesaw State as the home favorite, Rob.
Yeah, we've seen the total take some money, 50.5 all the way up to 53.5 right now. Probably hard to argue with that, Drew, because Kennesaw, to the surprise of many, has turned out to be really good offensively. Watch them last week. They got off to a fast start against Arkansas State. I think they got the first 21 in the first quarter and then hung on and won that ball game. They probably should have had more than the 28 that they scored. Again, it was a play that I had last week, Kennesaw State, Arkansas State over the total, and I believe that number was 57. And I was kind of upset that I lost it. Something real quick, I'm just going to go off script for half a second here. Something that I've seen the last 2 weeks in watching so many games. 2 weeks ago, I saw 7 touchdowns called back for holding penalties. Last week, I saw 6 touchdowns basically nullified red zone drives inside the 15-yard line that wound up in end zone interceptions. And so in that game in particular, it happened with Arkansas State and Kennesaw where they could get up and down the field, costly turnovers, points, unscored points that should have been scored. Now that we're this deep into the season, you would think these offenses could correct some of this stuff. Middle Tennessee has shown us no ability to play defense. I don't know where the effort came from against Nevada. I really don't, but we saw last week they gave up 42 to Marshall. Kennesaw probably scores. I don't know that I could play over here, even though, like I said earlier, it's attracted a lot of money because I don't know what to make of Middle Tennessee's offense. It just seems to be so sporadic, horrendous to start the season, a little bit better the last 2 weeks. But Kennesaw's on too good of a roll. I think if I had my choice in that game, I'd like to be on the favorite, -7.5. I think Kennesaw's got something going down there.
All right, Robbie, next one up, we get Missouri State hosting Western Kentucky. It's the Hilltoppers, -4 to as high as -5. There's even a 3 and a hook out there. 61.5 being the total. We get the Hilltoppers at Missouri State, Rob.
This one, I think you just follow the money until it gets to a point where you can't follow it anymore. Right now, they're showing us 61.5 for a total. Western Kentucky should have an absolute field day here as far as throwing the football is concerned. I think Missouri State, if they're not the worst, they're one of the 5 worst pass defenses in FBS football right now. Of course, they made the jump up from FCS to FBS, sitting in Conference USA now. So it's a conference game. All that said, Missouri State can score too, and Western Kentucky is no great shakes on defense. So I can understand the line move here, 59 all the way up to 61.5. And we see Missouri State taking a little bit of money because, in all honesty, Drew, there's an opportunity for them to just go step for step with the Western Kentucky offense. So I kind of agree with the side play here on the home dog, but I really agree with this game pushing, let's say, 64 plus points here. And right now, they're only asking for 61.5.
All right, looking over there as we got a future Pac-12 conference game, Washington State and Colorado State. We're seeing the Rams anywhere from 4.5 to 5.5 as the home favorite, 50 being the total. So WSU versus CSU here, 7:30 Eastern kick.
Did a full game video for this particular game for wagertalk.com. Here's my sheet full of notes. I won't go through them all, but I will say this. A couple of things here. Both sides have got quarterback changes for this game. Colorado State benched their starter, Braden Fowler-Nicolosi, midway through the game last week, went to a freshman, Jackson Brousseau, who is more of a dual threat, and he sparked the offense. They had a game last week, Drew. I don't know if you caught the tail end of this one, but they played UTSA in Fort Collins. They're trailing the whole game. Down 17-10, the freshman takes them on a game-tying drive. They kick the extra point, and it's tied 17-17 with less than a minute to go. On the extra point, there's a penalty. Head coach Jay Norvell decides, well, we'll take the point off the board, and we'll go for 2 from the 1.5-yard line. They don't get it. They lose. It's a difficult loss for Colorado State last week. Just as difficult, I think, the Apple Cup, where Washington State walked in 21-point dog. And they're only losing 31-24 at the end of 3. But then the doors absolutely got blown off of that team. They get outscored 28-0 in the fourth. They lose 59-24. It's back-to-back weeks that Washington State has given up 59 points. 118 in 2 weeks. That's a lot. It's first-year coaching staff. It's first-year systems. Again, when your quarterback goes from Cam Ward to John Mateer to, well, we don't know which one of these 3 guys is any good, and they still don't, because they've changed again. They're going to go back to the senior Xavier Eckhouse. So for me, to make matters worse for Washington State, they had one of their offensive linemen at a campus party get shot overnight, and head coach had to spend the night in the hospital with the key. He's going to be okay, full recovery. But it brought forth a team meeting on Sunday where, you're discussing a lot of things here. Loss of the Apple Cup, teammate backup tackle gets shot. You wonder where the Washington State mindset is now that they've got to go on the road to play this team. The other side of that coin is everything you read coming out of Colorado State this week. And maybe it's because Jay Norvell feels the heat on the hot seat, but it's really a sense of urgency there for this team. Line's going up to 5.5. They're not the most dependable bunch so far this season, but I will say this. It's a good defense for that caliber of play. They only allowed UTSA 2 explosive plays last week. And they've got skill position weaponry all over the field. They just need the quarterback to make it happen. Maybe the freshman Brousseau does here. I think Colorado State's a good play, minus 5.5.
Looking towards the Rams as the next 2 games are pretty big ones Saturday night, as we got Oregon and Penn State and Alabama and Georgia for the next 2. So we'll talk what the Big Ten matchup up next with the Ducks. Heading to Happy Valley, it is Penn State minus 3.5 as the home favorite, 52 and a hook being the total. Tough place to play, tough travel spot, but this Ducks team is pretty good. 3.5 here. That's Penn State as the home favorite, Robbie.
Yeah, big whiteout in Happy Valley, right? But I'll tell you what, Drew. I think if you loaned me the money, I couldn't bet James Franklin in this spot. I couldn't do it to your money. I couldn't put myself through it. He may cover. Eventually, he may win one of these games, but they never do. And so until you see it happen, he's been there 11 years or something, and they just don't win these games. Oregon looks real good right now. Dan Lanning has that team looking, of course, the name Oregon attaches them to the Pac-12, but they look like an SEC team where Lanning came from, Georgia. Very physical, can run the football, can throw the football, can play defense. I honestly think they're the better team at this point in time because I like the quarterback play there better. I'd rather have Dante Moore than Drew Aller, who to me still, his third year, and people keep thinking that he's going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. He just hasn't shown any improvement to me. Again, Penn State may come up with a really, really great game here. They've got a terrific run game. Both of those backs are outstanding. The defense is great, but so is Oregon's stuff. All their personnel is great too. So you're going to give me more than a field goal and say, Rob, you got to bet the game. I'm going to bet Oregon, but I haven't bet it at all. I can't trust James Franklin in this game.
Yeah, it'd be the Ducks or pass for me as well, Robbie. As we got the Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs up next. It's mostly Georgia -3. There is a couple 2.5s with juice out there. So the Bulldogs about a field goal home favorites, 53 and a hook being the total. SEC matchup here in Athens, Georgia. You liking anything?
I couldn't bring myself to either side or total in this game, Drew. I mean, I've heard a lot of opposing arguments from guys we both know in the industry, colleagues of ours that are on this game. I can't find my way to Georgia right now. The Gunnar Stockton in the offense, I'm just not sold. And honestly, I'm not really sold on Ty Simpson in the Alabama offense at this point either. That being said, I don't think either defense is vintage. I could see it going either way. I think when push comes to shove, if it becomes a close game like the 3-point line would indicate, you tend to lean towards a Kirby Smart coach team because Kalen DeBoer, since he's gotten here, hasn't shown it yet. However, Ryan Grubb here in Alabama now, fourth game in, with play calling duties. Kirby Smart hasn't really ever faced him as a play caller. And there were a couple of games here where Ryan Williams, the star wide receiver for Alabama, was out with a concussion. Right? I think he got hurt in the Florida State game, missed the next one, just coming back into form. So Alabama, their best offensive results may be ahead of them. Also, Ty Simpson had to go into a tough venue to make his first start at Florida State the first game. Smashed Monroe. He's been a little better. Just not sure I got a good feeling for either side, so I'll pass.
Next one up in El Paso, Texas. Pretty good one here. Sleeper matchup, Louisiana Tech and UTEP. We are seeing the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs side -3.5 or -4, kind of a split line as the road favorite. They've taken money this week, 48 being the total. So the Miners at home here against Louisiana Tech, Rob.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's interesting. I think we said it last week, but to see UTEP play up-tempo football after watching 6 years of Dana Dimmel down there is totally different. UTEP now, when you look at these totals, and again, it's a team, this is the third time I'm going to reference this same point, but this is a team with a perception that's built on history, not recency. And therefore, you come into a game like this and see a total of 48. I remember, Drew, us talking about Louisiana Tech a couple of weeks ago. And me saying to you, because Louisiana Tech was facing, they had a step down in defensive class. I said, maybe this is the week they break out. And sure enough, they poured out. I think Louisiana Tech is more than capable of scoring here against UTEP. All that being said, when you see a number like this, or at least for me, somebody who plays a lot of totals, 47.5, 48, and then you realize how many possessions and how many plays you're probably going to get in this game because UTEP's going to put pedal to the metal. And in all honesty, when the opposite side thinks they can score against you fairly easily, they don't mind pedal to the metal either. Everybody loves to score and pad their stats. So to me, this game was set too low. I see a lot of movement in the side. There's some Louisiana Tech money here on the road. But I think over 48, you can get, as I look here, you can get a bunch of 47.5. So go ahead and save yourself. Keep the key number of 48 on your side and play this one over the 47.5.
Yeah, there's 47.5, both offshore and in legal market is 47.5 is available, guys. All right, 2 games left here, Robbie. Big one, Ohio State and Washington up next. Buckeyes -8-point road favorites, 51 and a hook being the total in Husky Stadium.
I was so quick, Drew. I was so quick to my conclusion this week. I looked at the game. It opened. I'm like, there's just no way. No way Ohio State's not going to beat that team by 10 points. And I think my initial reaction was because when this game opened, it took nothing but Washington money. I think it went from 9.5 down to 8, and maybe that's where it settled in now. I'm not staring at the odds screen right this second, but I think it settled in maybe around 8.5. And I'm thinking everybody loves a home dog. I get it. Everybody loves to get on a bandwagon that they think is going to, Washington is showing capability, especially with Damon Williams Jr. at quarterback. They look really, really good. But I don't know. I can't get the Ohio State defensive effort against Texas out of my mind. Texas's team on paper, personnel-wise, especially at the line of scrimmage, is better than Washington. They're better than Washington defensively by miles, and they're probably better on the offensive line than Washington. So to me, Ohio State's already faced this type of test, maybe even more so. The difference is Arch Manning doesn't have this exact dual threat ability as Williams does. Williams is, I heard Jed Fish say he's the fastest guy on our team. So if he finds a crease on a quarterback run, but Ohio State's got defensive speed too, and I'm sure they'll have a spy on him. Caleb Downs, we all know about him for Ohio State. To me, Ohio State's just a better team. The difference is going to be, can Ohio State pass this road test? Again, they beat Texas in the shoe in front of their faithful, everything on their side. They pestered Manning all day long. Can they go on the road to Seattle, which is a hostile environment when they're good? Seattle's a tough place to play. But I kind of think Ohio State's good enough. So right now, I think I would lean Ohio State.
Shout out to everybody watching us live on YouTube, every game on the board, and on Twitter as well, at Rob Vino Sports, at Drew Martin Betts. We got Kenny Woo in the house, James as well, and Adam. Thank you guys for chiming in here. Robbie, I want to ask you a question. You know so much about all of these teams, really. What does your Saturday look like in terms of taking in this content? I always wonder that with other handicap, because it's hard for me to keep up with everything with 3 TVs going, but how do you do it?
Now, Drew, that my kids are both, adult age and gone, you get a little bit more. My kids were younger and I was younger. It was really more difficult. My particular situation, I won't get into it at all, but my wife was corporate and worked out of state. And so it was tough when you got little kids, school, after school, all that stuff. Nowadays, more time, but you're a little older and you need the energy that you had when you were young. I watch a ton of games and I read a ton of stuff. And I find that it doesn't matter what hour of day it is. Like there's a lot of times where I may fall asleep at 10:30, wake up 1:30, and then work from 1:30 to 6 a.m. So it just, the time frame reference of when I do stuff is different, but I still try to do as much as I used to do. And maybe 30 plus years in the business just helps me soak it in a little bit easier than when you're brand new to it.
But when you're watching the games, do you have multiple TVs? Are you in your living room?
Yeah, computers. And I say this all the time. Whoever invented the ability to watch games on the iPhone is my hero. I got to tell you, Drew, it would be a problem years ago. There's places I wouldn't go. There's things I would not do. And it caused a little friction around the Vino household sometimes. But nowadays, when I can take the iPhone with me and duck in and check and then get home and do the remainder of the work, it's helpful. But I have 2 computers with games on. You can't see them now, but I have 4 monitors in front of me on the wall in front of me. So we got 4 monitors going. We're watching an awful lot during the day. Only one with the volume up, because too much volume will confuse you. But I do watch a lot.
Oh, yeah, the volume. I mean, I remember some of our old call, like Aaron Renning, when I would go out to his house. I always thought it was crazy, but he would watch the games with no volume. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so it's just quiet. And then now I find myself doing that more. Mm-hmm. And it's almost to keep like other people's opinion out of it, so where you're just bringing it, there's no announcers. I actually like doing that now. So you kind of learn things from other people as you.
Yeah, and I think the only time, Drew, where and like I say, when you're watching 6 at once, you only have the volume on one. But if I see something where like there's an injury
Yeah.
I might switch volume to find out what's going on, or if there's a fourth down situation, I might switch volume to see what's going on. But otherwise, you can't watch them all that way because you'll be so confused by people talking. It's nuts.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, guys, we got last game. We'll try to get a best bet out of Robbie. We got BYU and Colorado. This is the nightcap for the card with Hawaii playing on the mainland. So last game on the card, degenerate special here, Robbie. BYU at Colorado. We are seeing the Cougars minus a touchdown. There is some 6.5 with juice out there. BYU as the road favorite. 49 and a hook being the total. So BYU, Colorado, degenerate special Saturday night, Rob.
I thought in the offseason, Drew, when Dion poached Caden Salter from Liberty, I thought for sure the intent was that's my starting quarterback. That's why we're going out and grabbing a guy who has started for somebody else and been successful. And then we saw what ensued at Colorado, quarterback, indecision, et cetera, until he came back to Salter last week. And guess what? Everything worked out pretty nice for Colorado last week. Offensively, they looked good again. They look a little bit better defensively to me this season. Could be a product of the competition. Not so sure. We'll wait to see a Big 12 game or two to make a firm statement on that. But 37 points registered against Wyoming last week. It's not easy to do simply because Wyoming, their games are so methodical, so few plays. They did the job. Now they're going to play BYU, and I really like BYU's offense at this point in time. Again, here's a game where I don't know. Again, I'll say it's probably me. But when I see a total of 48, BYU and Colorado, and know the explosiveness that Colorado has, and know that BYU, even though they're not up-tempo, can absolutely score and in droves at times. And certainly BYU, the ability to create points with their defense. I think the total's too low, Drew. I'll say it again. In this business, we bet against numbers. The fundamental breakdowns that I do for myself, that I give on air all week long, they're nice and they're helpful. But in the end, if the number's not there, you can't make a play. Here, I think this play probably goes over the number, 48. I could see this being a 27-24 game, which would put me in the winner's circle.
All right, looking towards the over there late night true degenerate special. Robbie, best bet time, man. Where are we heading for the listeners?
Where did we start this thing, Drew? We started at 173. Let me see. You know what? I'll tell you what I really like, and we started with it. K-State Central Florida. You're repping UCF there, so I'll go to that. I just think that Kansas State, that game is underpriced to me. Dylan Edwards back makes all the difference in the world. Two offenses back and forth. I think the last time they played each other, the game found its way into the 60s. I wouldn't be surprised if it does here as well. So for me, best bet, K-State, UCF, up and over 49.5, right? I think that's where we're sitting right now.
49.5, UCF and Kansas State for the best bet for Rob Vino. Rob, great stuff as always. The closer here, every game on the board, fan favorite at Rob Vino Sports, where you can find him on Twitter, wagertalk.com as well. Robbie, anything else you want to throw out there before we shut it down?
It's getting to be standard, but let's keep it as a standard, Drew, and thank the audience every time we exit the show here. You just put a few comments up there, obviously, guys that have seen us. They're being complimentary towards us. We appreciate it. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes into this. We're bettors to start with, so we're doing the work anyway, so why not share it with all you guys? Hopefully it leads to winning tickets. Again, to those that have been with us forever, we appreciate you. For those that are just tuning into us this season, we appreciate you too. So every Thursday we're here because we love to do it, Drew, and we love to do it for the audience.
Oh, yeah. Great information given out, Robbie. All the best to you this weekend. I know you're riding hot right now, so keep those winners coming in. And guys, that's going to do it for the Week 5 college football every game on the board. Follow Robbie at Rob Vino Sports. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts. That's going to do it for the week. So thanks for tuning in. Cash those tickets. We'll talk next week. Enjoy the weekend.